Let us briefly discuss the topic of protecting your digital privacy and staying safe in the ever evolving environment, digital environment that you're working in. One of the first steps that I do, and I've been doing since the beginning of joining this industry, has been to make sure that I keep my personal life and my private life separate. How do I do that? Well, the moment you join a new company or a new job, you definitely need to consider creating a brand new Google account. Now, that Google account can be your name, your nickname, and then your company name or something like that that you can remember. And for that account, you are going to be using it exclusively and only for work-related purposes. And that is in order to not only synchronize all your bookmarks, your browsing history, your passwords, but also to simply keep it organized. Because I'm a huge fan of productivity and being able to organize your life in the most coherent way. So, first step, create a Google account that is separate from everything else that you've been doing. Then on that one, you can use Google Drive, you can use Gmail, you can use all other separate services, and you can also, using that Gmail account, create separate social media accounts. And those social media accounts are going to be related again to your work. So creating a separate Twitter account that is specific to your company and where you represent your own company is actually extremely vital, because you are going to be building a reputation of your company and your work overall. And that is where the players can come and meet you and ask you questions, and where you can, during your work hours, log into and interact with them. So that's number one step. So create social media accounts that are completely separate from your personal accounts, because they're just simply easier to manage. And also, it simply gives much more transparency to the whole company. Right? Now, another step is also to make sure that you do not make it easily traceable on the internet who you are and where your private profiles lay. Your private profiles definitely should be set to private. So your Instagram account, your Facebook account, your Twitter account, preferably all private. Set to friends of friends, perhaps, privacy restrictions, or even more lockdown. And it is simply because of the social engineering and the amount of interesting guys that could pop up during your career that may be curious about what are you doing in your personal life and what kind of things you're up to. And that could lead down a very, very dark path that you may not want to experience. So again, that's another step. Keep those private accounts private as much as you can. Another pro tip, if you could call it that way, is creating a LastPass account that is tied to your work email. And that is simply to not forget or remember all of the passwords that you're having related to your work. So social media logins and stuff like that. Now, tying that to your work email is actually extremely important as well, because once you quit your job and move to another company, you don't have access anymore to that account. And wiping it down and obviously staying professional is a key aspect of your work, and you should be acting professionally in that order. Now, those are the steps that you, like, in order to separate those two things, you should be taking momentarily. But I also highly suggest, as you are the community manager and you are managing your own community, setting the rules inside of that community is extremely important. You don't know if your game is going to go viral and suddenly get millions and millions of players joining in. But if it does, people that you don't want to be in your community sometimes could be hard to enforce out or let them go. And so one of the very important things that I've learned is that if you do have game forums, enforce as many rules as you can, and have all the freedom that you can to make sure that you are able to filter unnecessary noise. And that goes also in terms of who can actually join your community. How many gates do you want to establish, and what does it take for a person to post in the official forums to begin with? Does the person need to be playing the game for X hours? Does the person need to be part of the guild or a clan? Does the person need to be in some other way verified? Those are all the valid questions that you can ask yourself, and they're extremely, extremely crucial to keep your community and your players protected from the evil actors and the people that may want to harm digital lives of your community and yourself. And so, yes, enforcing those rules and having forums and the social platforms that have very clear guidelines in terms of how people should behave are extremely crucial. Because you can always rely back on them and kick the people out and simply move on with your life very quickly instead of debating and having these long discussions. And that is pretty much it. I think that in order to those actors be kept in bay, you are going to be taking those steps at first. Protecting yourself, protecting your community, and then enforcing those rules and those set of rules as much as you can. Now, of course, having moderators, having help from other players that are like-minded and really like the game, that you have verified that they are legit friends of the game, are definitely helpful. And as you grow your community, you are going to be expanding that pool of helpful people and figuring out the way how to reward them, and that is a separate video that we can talk about later. But protecting your digital privacy and having measures how to protect your entire community against the bad actors is your number one priority as you set up the community and as you begin preparing for launch of the game or beta test or whatever it is. So let me know if you want to dive deep into any specific topics that I've mentioned at this point, and I can dive deep into step by step and rules and different kind of things that you would like to learn from. This is just a quick overview, and I would love to just go deeper into some of those topics if you may be interested in the future. So once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in another video.